right, good morning, everybody. Today is Friday. Yay! December 5th, 2014. And this is Before the First Cup with Jules, Zorie, and Lady Pitbull here on UCYD TV. Happy Friday, ladies.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, it literally is just after the first sip. Not even cup, sip. I literally have had one sip and I still have one eye open.
Oh boy.
So, hey, wait, I want to know, Zorie, it was raining 2 days ago and then I saw videos of sinkholes, and Weather Channel, of course, was making it the new big moneymaker for views. So how's the rain in California doing?
It's still raining. It's been
No
steady now for
way.
almost 5 days and flooding in Tehama right below me.
Wow.
And it's supposed to keep raining for at least another week.
What? You know, I really was trying to put my head in the mindset of the geoengineers. And there was a couple things I was thinking about. You know, we haven't had rain in what, a year and a half in California. And
3
I
years.
saw it's been a long time, at least for sizable rain. And they put a statistic on, up on the Weather Channel screen. I think it was 2011. They had said there was like 3 point some odd inches of rain for the entire year. And Southern California had received that much rain in this front in 2 hours.
Yeah, it's been just pouring.
That they had received in an entire year in 2011, which of course was doing what I said it might do because the ground was so dry it didn't absorb it. And then that's where we had all the flooding. How's that all doing?
We're still in drought conditions, and we're getting a lot of flooding down in the town in this county below me. I went out yesterday to the bank and all kinds of flooding down the streets here too. So it's running off. I don't know if much of it's getting absorbed.
But it is filling. I'm assuming you have some sort of dam or aquifer or something like that.
We have Shasta Lake. That's the
there you
largest
go.
man-made lake. Yeah, it's still down.
Right, and it will be. But remember, just like the way natural aquifers fill, the runoff runs down and it trickles and eventually it fills. So
we get ours from the snow on Mount Shasta.
Right, but if you've had no moisture.
Right.
But now you're having rain, so same difference pretty much.
Lucky we are.
What was that?
Radiated rain. How lucky we are.
Yes. Now, that was something I was thinking about. Like, all this time, it took us, 3 years now of California being geoengineered to make sure that we put the last nail in the coffin for any productive farming that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all these animals that were culled and all these crops that couldn't be planted because we were in such severe drought conditions. And I was like, wow, it really probably is coming to about the time now, getting the winter again, that those food stores, grains, whatever were put away that were grown in California that we would have had we had a proper growing season, probably are getting about ready to get tapped into.
You bet.
They're not going to be there.
That's right. That's when it's going to really break, is then. Because, almost no farmers planted last year.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
I watched it very closely because it scared me. I was like, California with no farms? That's where all of our winter food grows.
Right. You go down through Fresno and down through there where all the farmers are, and it's just barren.
Wow. So, there was something I was thinking, like, why now? Why rain for California? Well, maybe it's because the damage long term, at least for the speculators, at least for the Wall Street guys who play on the ups and the downs, who like to rig the system.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
just about time. And they probably all have their bets lined up on the table. And now, you know what? It's all right. You guys can have all the rain you want because they're about ready to make bank.
There
And
you
all
go.
those poor farmers haven't been getting a paycheck. They probably have been applying for government, some sort of government drought assistance. I'm assuming they always have stuff like that for them.
A lot of them bellied up.
Well, right, or bellied up and sold out. So now all that land is going to be available, like we said the other day, available for pennies on the dollar.
Well, a lot of it got bought up by Pelosi's husband and brother.
Mm, right.
Yeah.
They were the ones that we had questioned way back when
Hmm.
what kind of relationship they had and what they were doing with all that. So what are they doing with all that land?
I don't know. It's still barren. So, but now the rain's here, so maybe they'll plant this next spring and do a booming business.
The Piglosi twins are buying it for pennies on the dollar.
Yep, they are. It's just like Feinstein and her husband getting those inside contracts on all those post offices and stuff. It's just so corrupt. It's
Everything.
pathetic.
Bastards.
Hmm. But at least, well, I don't know. The river was low. We came through town yesterday, day before yesterday, and I was surprised because our river, even when it's in drought, is kept up high because of the salmon, and it was down low after all this rain, even.
It's going to be. I watched Texas and Texas's drought come back from the brink very slowly over the last few years. And
Hmm.
it took a lot of rain before
It
they
does.
finally, all the ground has to get saturated and then everything has to trickle into the aquifers. Now, they finally, this past summer, I'm pretty sure, or maybe it was the spring, they finally had gotten moved up a notch. They were just about ready to get moved down one more notch to like the absolutely most severe drought ever. And with the typhoon season that came through this past year, it actually jacked them back up a notch toward the better. So I don't think any of you guys are out of like drought
Oh no,
scenarios
our lake
yet.
is still 100 feet down.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's not just you, that's the entire West Coast.
right. Well, we like Southern California. They never got any water restrictions or anything. Down where my mom lives, there's never even been mention of it. But up here, we're in real drought because we're sending all our water down there. So
Well, right. And,
yeah.
I would have to say that most of California, just because your mom's in Southern California, that's probably where a lot of those people live that aren't going to do well when they're told no.
That's true.
You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking.
That's
But
funny.
all of California needs to be conserving water.
You would think so. My
Yeah.
mom has never had any restrictions, no penalties, nothing. They could use all the water they wanted. While up here, there's wells going dry, and people can only water their lawns once a week on a certain day, and really restricted. But if you drive down south, all the canals are full, sending water down south.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't at all. All their golf courses are nice and green and everything, where everybody's yard up here is dead.
I did a story a couple weeks back on the toilet to tap water going on in San Diego.
Hmm.
Did you see that?
I heard about it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Ew.
they'd been talking about it. I know, like double, triple, ew. And that was something again that I had followed in Texas because they had done it in a couple towns in Texas, and I guess they're getting ready to do it in a bunch more. I have friends down there that were just drink toilet water. Which, can you blame them? I could never. And at the very end of my story, that's exactly what I said. So for as much as, they tell you how clean and wonderful and recycled it is, will you ever have that little voice in the back of your head stop telling you you're drinking toilet water?
No.
Well, we're the only country that uses that the same water goes to our toilets as goes to our faucet. Most countries don't. It's not like that. Their water that goes to the toilet isn't like as clean.
Pristine, right? It's
Yeah.
probably gray water or whatever.
Hmm.
They're not drinking their own Prozac.
Right.
Well, the thing is that makes a lot of sense because that was the other thing that I put in the story is that once you're drinking, and I said, it doesn't matter how many reverse osmosis filters you put in there. How are you going to filter out the pharmaceuticals? And
You're
we're
not.
all literally going to be walking around on Prozac and other SSRIs to be smiling,
Well, they've been
happy
known
people,
to
right?
dump. They've been known to dump that stuff in the water, in our drinking water.
Kind of like fluoride?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they tell people with old prescriptions and stuff too. That's how they tell you to get rid of them, which is like the dumbest thing ever.
Right.
Right.
Dump
Flush it
them
down
in
the toilet. Jeez.
Where
It's
do you
better
think
to.
that stuff goes?
Right. Oh my god.
Unbelievable. It's like the magical water that just gets clean and disappears forever. Flush. Out of sight, out of mind.
Right?
Well, how many people drink from their faucets anymore?
I don't.
Me neither.
No.
Yeah.
I don't
But the
know if
sad
anybody-
fact of the matter is we're drinking bottled water and stuff and we're trusting these companies that there still aren't any regulations that I'm aware of
No.
in regards to bottled water. So they could be putting anything in that.
Well, they probably are.
They probably are. And there was one time when the bottled water craze first started and one of my friends was making fun of me. And I'm trying to remember which one it was. Maybe it was Aqua. Well, I'm not even going to say agua. How's that? It was a bottle that said agua on it. And I took a look at where it originated from because one friend kept saying, no, all I got to do, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm just going to get bottles and a label. I'm going to put it under the tap and fill them
There
up
you
and
go.
sell it. I was
Yep.
like, no. And the one I was drinking, I happened to look and boo, there it is. Oh shit! I don't remember the name of the county. It's Albany, but Albany has a county name, and that's what they use. But it was a municipal water supply out of Albany, New York. That's what they were, which literally means is freaking bottled tap water out of
Yeah,
Albany.
exactly. Yeah, I don't drink bottled water like that. I go out, I get it at the health food store through their reverse osmosis machine right there. They have
Right.
4 things. You get the first 5 gallons free if you're a member, and that's where I get my water. I won't drink bottled water. I've always known all along that there's no regulation on it. They can put anything in it.
Well, I thought too, years later, as I'm putting on my evil villain thinking cap, I was like, wow, what? Just like the non-labeled GMOs that we don't know anything about, so if we don't know about them, they can't hurt us.
Mhm.
What an ingenious way to start pumping pharmaceuticals into people.
Hey. Yeah. Oh my
Right?
god.
The unlabeled
Yeah.
bottles of water by large corporations such as Nestle.
Nestle and
Exactly.
Coca-Cola, because I know Aquafina uses municipal water supplies, and that's totally by Coca-Cola
Mm-hmm.
Corporation. These bastards.
And I mean, who doesn't need to take a sip of water?
Great.
Kind of a requirement. So
Well, in the shower, you take in more because your pores are open in the shower. You take in more of the fluoride and everything else when you're in the shower.
I know, my friend and I talked about that quite a number of years ago and had discussed finding a decent shower head filter. If, I mean, whole house systems are quite a few
expensive.
$1,000s. And then you got to keep filling them with the salts and stuff, and
Mhm.
that's just something that I don't know. When we kind of looked at it a few years ago, I was like, are we going to stay here that long? I mean, that's a big job to put something
It
like
is.
that in.
Big time.
And then I thought, well, maybe I'll do one in the kitchen and one in the bathroom. And then, you know what? I never did any of them. So I got to come up with something. I did on Amazon. I found a couple decent filters, but for the shower. But
Mhm.
nothing. There actually were a few good ones online, and I'm trying to remember the name and the manufacturer. I think I actually have it in bookmarks upstairs, but it was charcoal as well as zeolite and a few other things, so it also got the radiation, and that's what I was concerned about. If I was going to get a filter for my shower, I would make sure it not only got the fluoride and the chlorine and whatever other nasties in there, but it also got the radiation.
But
That's
most of the
good.
filters don't filter out fluoride. They filter out other toxins, but I don't know of many that actually filter out the fluoride.
Well,
Yeah, there is one.
we've got a system that is installed under the sink, and literally they had to go and put a hole in the actual metal
Yep.
top part of the
Yeah.
sink. It's called Aqualive, and they do have a fluoride filter. There's a set of 3 filters underneath the sink that's like screwed into the wall. And
Yeah, and that was one of the things. It was like this multi-filter system, and the filters are like $100 a piece.
yes, yes.
I mean, that's some pretty. And think about that. Just to drink clean water.
Oh, I know. Well, here's the other thing that the water system does. It lowers the pH, so it alkalizes the actual water. So you're drinking alkalized water with this Aqualive system. It's nice. It's really
I think a lot of those systems they put that. I don't know if it's a baking soda. It's some sort of
Baking
stabilizer.
soda makes alkaline water. You can
It
make
Right,
tastes
and
alkaline
like
so
water.
that.
in some
It
of the
does.
bigger systems, they have that where you can get that as an option. I know
Yeah.
I saw that when I was looking at them.
We totally got that. It's awesome
That's
though.
nice.
It's real nice. I wish I had it with when my dogs were alive, because I have a feeling that the high level, there's no fluoride in this little Manchester system. And they've got their own water system here. I know there's no fluoride, but the calcium levels is what like killed my dog. So
Yeah, we voted down the fluoride here years and years ago.
I know they have it here. They have in New York since I was a kid. But
yeah, absolutely.
you know what? When I was a kid, that was also when they were doing that swish in the schools. Do you remember that? I think I talked about that before. That in New York, we were a big fat 70s experiment with red dye number 5
Ugh.
fluoride tablets.
Huh?
Yikes.
They used to have the class in school. Once a week, we'd all line up like good little recipients with our little Dixie cup, and the teacher would take this tablet and put it into a gallon jug and then go take it to the bathroom sink, fill it up with good old tap water, put on the pump top, screw it in, shake it up, and it would turn brilliant red. And then we'd all get in line with our Dixie cup, and we get 2 pumps each. Blunt, blunt.
What? I never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, and they called it Swish. And it was the fluoride program for New York State schools. And we would do it once a week, and you'd sit there and we'd watch the clock. Okay, when the time gets to 5 minutes after, ready, set, go. And for a whole minute, we had to swish. And my mother, you know, that's the one thing I got to say. She taught me 2 things in the 70s. For a few of the things that she got wrong that I'm discovering today, like she was very into the women's suffrage movement. And some of the, you know, I mean, we've discovered a lot of things that have come out of the women's suffragette movement that maybe are questionable today that we didn't realize in the 70s. But 2 of the things that she was very adamant about was always doing your own investigation and asking questions. And if you don't understand or, you know, you don't have the proof, then ask more questions. So basically never shut your mouth and believe things just because you're told. And the second thing was not to eat I mean, we weren't allowed to eat sugar cereals or white bread, or I had a very strict diet growing up. You know, we had granola, we had Team Flakes, we had
I remember
grape nuts.
Team Flakes were good, man.
They were good. We had Roman fried bread. You know,
my God.
my sandwich. She was funny, but the one thing she wouldn't stand for was this red dye number 5 crap loaded with fluoride. She's wrote a note and she's like, I'm telling them you get more than enough fluoride in the water that you drink. And we never had to take it.
Wow.
And we were like one of the only kids I remember, because all the kids made fun of us that we didn't do the red swish. But I'm telling you what, to this day, now I find out like a lot of other people never did this. I thought this was something everybody did in the 70s. You know what I mean? And then we learn all this stuff about fluoride. I mean, I'm wondering if that's why I'm here behind the mic and all my friends I grew up with are sitting quietly watching TV.
Oh,
That might be.
Ding, ding, ding.
Think about it. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, not only was it fluoride, but it was loaded with red dye.
Oh, God. That is the.
Glowing red dye, number 5 red. Absolutely.
Oh, my God. And, like, all of these energy drinks have that red dye crap in it. I mean,
Those energy
Well,
are dangerous, I think.
well, yes, they are. But let me just back up to the dyes, though. The new dyes that they use, red dye was banned a long time ago, that number 5 that was cancer causing.
yeah.
Now they use quote unquote natural flavoring, which a lot of times that red is that
Or like beet juice that
or beet
GMO,
juice. Yeah, that's a new one I've been seeing all over is the red beet
and
juice.
that's GMO.
Or beet sugar. Yes, it is. It's the sugar beets.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yikes, man. Ugh.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Hey, before we get too off the subject, I got to find a coffee cup. I was trying to find a coffee cup with water in it, but then that ended up being a bottle of beer, according to the Google search. A cup of coffee with water in it. A bottle of beer. Hey, and it's Friday. Yeah, actually, I think I searched Friday bottle cup or Friday water cup, something like that, and it came up with a bottle of beer. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, Paul built us a toy yesterday. We talked about the bleep meter. I don't know, you guys. I don't know if you were listening or not. I talked to Paul, and then Paul said, "Oh yeah, it should be pretty easy. I could make something."
No way.
So, yeah, go to BTFC.
No way.
UCY.tv/BTFC and go look underneath the chat. I figured I'd put it close to the chat window so then we can type and bleep at the same time. But I was thinking, man, not only can we use this for the bleepometer for maybe one specific show, we could use it for this show, and it could be the May Brussels Nazi bleeper too.
Oh!
So you're never going to listen to May Brussels the same again.
No way! That's another good drinking thing too. Every time
Yeah,
it
it
says
sure is.
Nazi.
So what I had Paul do though, he used a gong noise to make it more exciting. But I was like, man, you better put a mute button on there somewhere because that's going to drive people nuts. So there's a little mute box, and every time you click, it just adds one, and then there's a clear counter underneath. So I don't know. We could try playing with this one of these days very soon.
Fuck! There's 2.
Oh yeah, come on here, beep.
Well,
beep.
then what about Kevin's show? Oh my God.
No, that was kind of what we were thinking. And I'm running Kevin now. Actually, you guys, tomorrow will be the first night. We put him on. So at midnight, Saturday night, after Mrs. Kim Ocelli's show, going into Sunday morning, Mr. Kevin Blanche will be running following table, which, by the way, the first show is tomorrow night. So make sure you're here. It's in the old After Last Cup slot, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. But yes, following Kim's show just to make sure that the ruckus and mayhem and chat doesn't have to fade away quickly on a festive weekend night. We will run Kevin's show, and I have a little treat. It starts out, I did a recording. It starts out with me, but very, very sampled, going, parental discretion is advised. It'll be awesome. So I got it in random replay, and we got the bleep button all set up for tomorrow night. So it's going to be like bingo.
Oh, it's not marginalizing anyone. It's just
Yeah, it isn't. It's having fun.
fun.
It's
I mean,
absolutely having fun. And you know what, Kevin? I used to call him my Fukushima F-bomber, and it's not just for him. If you listened to my episode yesterday, I probably would have been up there on the bleepometer too.
right.
So there you go. I mean, we could come up with something later on where, like, for every host that has 10 bleeps or something, they get on the wall of fame. Or the wall of shame.
The wall of bleep.
The wall of bleeps. Yeah. You know, we could rate the shows all week. Who is the most
Kind of
bleeps?
like sitting in the corner with the dunce hat on.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
Make a bleep hat with a piece of tape over the mouth.
Actually, I'm going to tell you what. I think this bleeper in the very beginning was conceptualized for the May Brussels Nazi thing. Because if you remember Cooper Dan, every single day at midnight would be like, there's Brussels with their Nazi thing again.
That's funny. She's accurate as hell, but
yeah, she is. But everything was blamed on the Nazis.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know. You know what? If you don't like the bleepometer, don't use it. But
I love it.
all I gotta say is I thought it was fun, and it gives you something to do while you're sitting here listening, chatting. You know, you can make it anything you want. Be creative.
That's awesome, and it's that gong is absolutely cute.
I've
I've already done it 3 times. I haven't even swore 3 times.
Bwang, bwang. I know. Actually, in a few minutes, I got to go get another cup because literally, I had when we launched the show, when we went live, I literally had just like gotten the quickest little scalding hot sip out of my cup. It's gonna be a 2-cup morning, I think.
There we go. It's Friday.
It is.
Now, if we bleep, will they hear it through the show?
No, I just did it.
Yeah, no, because
okay.
it's not over. It's not over the air. And everyone has their own. I didn't have it centralized. At first, I was like, we can have it centralized. So every time someone hits it, it goes up. But then that would mean databasing and all kinds of other crap. So it really is just for each individual person. But then you can use it for whatever you want.
True.
It's pretty cute. I really.
You know what I mean? If you want to listen to AJ and then every time he starts going off the hook, use the bleepometer.
Or every commercial, yeah.
Or every commercial. There you go.
Just hold it down steady throughout the whole commercial.
Oh my
So, I don't know. That's my Christmas gift from me to you. If you notice, too, across the top, I made sure I made it easy to find. There's your Amazon shop button for those of you doing your Christmas shopping.
Perfect.
That's the UCY link. There is the PayPal link. Anyone has like 50 cents or whatever you want to send the network to help me pay the bills. And then there's email to tell me how much you love our shows.
That's awesome.
Oh, and then down below the bleep meter, everyone keeps telling me they don't see any of our sponsors. So there's one, just in case you didn't know what that looked like.
It says top 5 cups.
Oh, does it? Those are all customized based upon whatever you were surfing.
Yeah, that's weird. I wasn't.
Well, we were talking about cups.
That's right. Yeah. Oh God.
But it's also on a cup page. Don't forget.
That's
Before the first cup.
Yeah, that's true. Yikes, Orama. Well, it's wonderful. I love it. The bleepometer.
Hey, we also got that other chat that's going to get rocking and rolling. And I asked Paul to do me a favor, though. If anyone remembers the theater, we used to have our theater way back when. And we had 2 chats. Remember? There was the inside chat and the outside chat. And so we could be straddling both chats, but we always had like the back room.
Right.
Well, I'm going to have it set up the same way. So we can have the window out into the lobby.
Cool.
So
that's cool.
That's coming soon. Probably after the first of the year.
I remember we had fun on those.
Yeah, I'm working with another 1 or 2 of our hosts, and we're getting some big stuff cooking for next year, beginning of the year, that we already have in the works. So it'll be fun. I think that'll come back fast and furious. Good. Speaking of which, no, let's not go there.
That's funny.
I was wished sweet dreams of criminal attorney general Eric Holder last night. I was like,
Oh. When the hell is that son of a bitch gonna leave? I want him gone. Bye
yeah,
bye now.
here's the thing. We need to talk about that because a bunch of stuff happened yesterday. And I don't know if anyone has been catching the anti-medias now. They're doing Tuesday and Thursday nights as well as Monday, Wednesday, Friday. SM Gibson, and I keep forgetting his co-host name, but I promise I will know it for next week. I wanted to ask him yesterday, and I forgot. I got with them on the phone. We got their phones all working, figured out what their operating system was and got the phones answering properly. They had a hip-hopping, kick-ass show last night. You should see the Skype with all the calls that came in. There must have been 10 or 15 calls.
Wow.
And that's on at 11 o'clock at night?
At 11 o'clock at night, wow. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
that's only 8 o'clock out here.
Right. And they have a pretty large readership. That's the antimedia.org where we all have been posting our stories. Mm-hmm. So they do pretty well. They know lots and lots of people, and they're affiliated with all kinds of groups. And I was just so excited to see the participation and the interaction and how many people actually had the balls to call in and give a piece of their mind as to what their thoughts were as to what's going on between New York City and the Garner case and Ferguson and the Brown case, which is pretty much gone. And now the Cleveland case. Did you see Holder announced, so there's a federal Justice Department investigation going on in Albuquerque. I had written about that. Now there's one going on in Ferguson. Now they announced one in New York City. And then last night, I was out here late posting and working on stuff. And one of the last stories I posted was about Holder now saying that the Cleveland, Ohio department seems to have some major issues.
Well, you know what, though? That's still the criminals investigating the criminals.
Well, it sure is. That's what I was freaking about yesterday. I think actually that might have been where my rant never made it beyond. And I was going to talk about that because he's the biggest criminal of them all.
Uh-huh.
He's the criminal leading the land. And here we now have all of these criminals that are going to be heading up to one criminal, and then you have the other criminal named Barry Obama who decides that blowing $263 million on body cams might fix the freaking problem. And then I see a story that says, body cam stocks over the last 2 days have gone through the roof. Of course they have. Just like when they declared an Ebola emergency, didn't the Ebola stocks go through the roof too after they had all kinds of DARPA money that all those freaking pharmaceutical companies had?
Absolutely. Well, look, in Washington, they voted to use the cameras on the police, and then they come out with, no, we dropped the program because the citizens wanted to be able to see the videos.
Well, right. And I hate to tell you, but like I said in the very beginning, all that equipment is citizen paid for. Mm-hmm. We deserve to see everything that's on there. And I told you that whole app we've been talking about and feeding it all and pulling it in, that might have to happen. I know poor Paul's only one guy, so, I got a million projects and he's supposed to be working on stuff that he does for, a living.
A living.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. But this is firing me up. Here, I'll tell you what. You guys have a story. You got that story you dropped me yesterday, Wendy, about the criminal in chief or the criminal in charge of more criminals.
That was actually a clip.
Oh, it wasn't a story. I want to go fill my coffee.
Oh, it's a long clip. That'd be actually perfect.
Oh, all right. Yeah, wasn't it Napolitano?
Yes, it was. It was the judge.
You need to pull me in then.
I need to pull you in.
Oh, hold on. My chat.
Yeah, I say Napolitano for president. Judge
Me too.
Napolitano.
Let's start a movement. Judge Knapp for president, damn it.
I
think, we should have him for president and Jesse Ventura for vice president so Ventura can enforce what the judge says.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Ventura anymore.
I mean,
You know, I used to really like him when he had his show and stuff, and then he ran off to Mexico, and I don't know. There's a few funny things now that I've seen.
Yeah, I still like him.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
he
I
did
like him.
great
I
things
just
for.
don't. He sure did. Oops. Here, let's see if we can get the bleepometer on air.
that's great.
I'm gonna be like a little kid sitting here playing with it now.
Uh-oh.
I love it.
Okay. So, you dropped that to me yesterday. Let me find it.
I'm trying to find it too.
Yeah, I have it here. I just gotta find where on earth. Did you? Oh, you know what? I think you dropped it to me in the show Skype yesterday.
Look here.
The day before yesterday.
So Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it might have been. No. So, all right. Well, Zorie, you got anything to talk about while we look aimlessly for the story?
I did, but let's see if I can find. Oh, problem loading page.
Oh, I'll just go here. Let's see. There's reports out that Obama is mulling sanctions on Israel. So
What?
thought that was kind of like attention grabber there.
Well, they're going after, just so you know, they're going after Russia again, and Putin is getting very pissed. And
Yes, he
oil
is.
just hit $40 a barrel, and that's all related to this, guys.
You know, I was thinking about this yesterday, that if oil really is down to $40 a barrel, shouldn't the price of gas be
Oh,
like
absolutely.
closer?
Well, it is.
to,
It went under
$0.50.
$2 somewhere.
Did it? Well, not here, not in
Not
New
here.
Not
York.
here either.
It's still up to 160 something here, so something isn't jiving here, man. Let me tell you right
Well,
now.
I'll tell you what. There's a couple things when some of these issues
260.
happened in the past, and you know, when was the last time we had an oil glut? But you know, when there were supply issues, and all of a sudden the price shot up like a shot. They're like, well, it was the speculators that did that. Blah blah blah. Supply and demand. And then when the prices started to come down, they're like, well, it takes a while because the gas that you have in the underground tanks was the gas that you paid the expensive price for. So once we get our fill up, we get the better price, right? I've heard both of those. But you're absolutely right. If gas is at $40 a barrel, and these guys are still selling it to us for what, $80 to $100 a barrel pricing?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty sick.
I misspoke and said 167. It's 267 still here. And it should
Yeah.
be down closer to like below like $2. If it's $40 a barrel, come on.
Absolutely. And you know what? The states probably aren't going to change their big fat tax they take off the top of it, regardless of how cheap the price is.
Hell no, we gotta pay for the roads, which are in total disrepair all over the place. I mean, come
We
on.
got toll booths that do that have been here for 20, 30, 40, 20, 40 plus years that were only supposed to be temporary.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and that's against the Constitution, against the free travel, free
That's
to
right.
travel.
That's true.
Yeah, well,
So are
and they jack the
licenses.
prices up every year, too.
Yep.
I
I
can't
seen somewhere
find
where
that
it went.
link.
It went below $2 in one state. I'm trying to find it. I just seen it a little earlier. It was $1 something, and here we're still paying $3.90.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to be holding your breath for a while before you see the prices come down like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
and then if they do ever like go below like back to 199 or whatever, like
Well, they'll jump back up because then
they'll
all
jump
of a
back
sudden
up.
they'll go. Yeah, oil will start costing more, and they go, "Oh well, we never did run out of our reserves, so we never got down to the cheap gas."
Yeah, or some other bullshit story. It's always something.
Yeah.
All right, do you
first
have
gas
that or
station
no?
dropped
I'm-
below $2.
I'm trying to find it.
Okay, I got this one. The first
Yeah, go for
gas
it.
station. It says $2 gasoline is back in the U.S. An on Q Express station in Oklahoma City was selling the motor fuel for $1.99 a gallon today, becoming the first one to drop below $2 in the United States since July 2010. A senior petroleum analyst at Gas Buddy Organization Inc. said by email from Chicago, "We knew we saw we knew when we saw crude oils drop last week that we'd break the $2 threshold pretty soon, but we didn't know it would happen in South Carolina, Texas, Missouri, or Oklahoma," said Dehan, senior petroleum analyst for Gas Buddy. "Today's national average is $2.74, now makes the current price we pay at whopping 51 cents per gallon less than what we paid a year ago." So that was that.
I dropped that, Jules.
So I think she went for coffee.
Oh,
I think she gave up on. Let's see. Okay, it goes on. Gasoline is sliding after OPEC decided last week not to cut production amid a global glut of oil that has already dragged international oil prices down by 37% in the past 5 months. Pump prices have fallen by almost $1 since reaching this year's high on April 26th. 15% of the nation's gas stations are selling fuel below $2.50 a gallon, and it may not be long before others join on Q Express in that exclusive club that's below $2. Wow, that's cool. I'm loving it. I would even love it more if it was down to $1.99 a gallon.
or 150 like it should be.
Yeah,
I
or
mean,
125
honestly,
even.
yeah, 125, even 99 cents. Shit. I mean, that's what it was when I was first starting to drive.
Oh, I can remember when gas was 25 cents a gallon during the gas wars. You'd fill up with $1 with my Volkswagen.
Or remember back in like 77 with the energy crisis? I mean, people
It
were
was bad.
people were freaking out because it was like, I don't know, 60 cents and going up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember though we were all extremely poor back then, and it was all blamed on the oil embargo. Is what
Yeah.
it was.
And then how much was it a gallon then?
Who knows? But with the inflation, it probably was pretty expensive. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Well, remember
mean-
when cigarettes were 50 cents a pack?
I remember 75.
Yeah. I swear I'd never buy another pack of cigarettes if it reached $1. And look, now I'm paying almost $6.
Oh, there we go. You found it.
I did find it.
All right, let's see if we can play this.
Okay.
All right, this is in regards to Eric Garner and the cop in New York City and the grand jury. And actually, there were a couple stories that I was reading yesterday, except nothing's loading on this page. So, I don't know, there might be too much spyware out here.
Probably.
I'm trying to power up my other machine. So, I don't know, talk about it.
Let's see. Well, it says,
Well, no, did you pay attention to the case? Don't read it.
well,
I don't want
no.
to read this. Okay.
Right. But it does like quote Judge Knapp in there, so it's pretty cool. Wait, maybe I can get.
Here, I got it. It's up. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Judge Napolitano has come out now a couple times in regards to rulings and has set the record straight, and this is no different. He thinks that the officer should have been indicted. I don't know. I've had a lot of conversation over it, and like I said, I did a story yesterday about it, about the guy who filmed it, by the way, who was indicted. Which,
Well, 'cause
what?
you know, the chokehold isn't supposed to be used, period.
No, I actually found the document from, and it might still be down the side of chat. It was November 1993. The chokehold was banned from the NYPD because there were too many deaths from it all across the country.
Yeah, you know
1993, it was banned.
what gets my goat is why in the hell did the guy that filmed it get indicted? Why?
He did
Because-
too? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
No, he did because, well, I'll have to read my story then. I'm not going to give it away.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
All right, so here we go. This is Judge. Oh, well, we might have to talk about it again until it spins up. Here we go. Oh, with this stupid commercial.
God, they're all like that. Every single video now.
And
Yeah,
you
but you
can't
know
even
what?
silence them now.
I did. But you do, you know what? I mean, if it's some independent media group, here we
I
go.
want to read this to you from the New York City Police Department's handbook. Quoting, for more than 20 years, the NYPD Patrol Guide has prohibited the use of chokeholds, relying on a police department rule that unequivocally forbids any pressure to the neck, throat, or windpipe that may inhibit breathing. This rule was plainly intended to prohibit chokeholds. As defined, chokeholds, though not illegal, are unambiguously prohibited by the police department. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us now live on the Fox News deck. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that this ought to have been an indictment, and it ought to have been an indictment for some form of manslaughter. It's not first-degree murder, it's not second-degree murder, but it's certainly reckless manslaughter because of the excessive use of deadly force on a person who posed no serious or material threat to the police. Now, I say that, not having seen the evidence before the grand jury, not having seen all of the medical reports, not having heard what the DA said to the grand jury, but just on the basis of the tape alone, on the basis of the absence of a threat that Eric Garner posed. Yes, he was resisting arrest, had no means to threaten the police. He had no deadly force in his hands. This is not a case like in Ferguson where there was a struggle for the gun and the police ended up with the gun rather than the other person. This is a case of a poor, sorry individual doing nothing more than selling untaxed cigarettes, and as a result of government intervention, he's dead. This is not a fair application of the law, but my caveat is, again, that I have not seen what the grand jury saw.
Just for you base a lot of this on the video, of course. You have to consider what this man was doing. This is Staten Island, but you could walk down the street here in Midtown where all the tourists are and all the rich people work in suits, and it wouldn't take me 2 minutes to find somebody selling loosies that hadn't been taxed or something they'd driven up from North Carolina or you'd gotten on an Indian reservation because cigarettes are $15 a pack here, and it's a lucrative
Didn't I say that?
Pictures outside the spot where this chokehold, where this death happened in Staten Island. That's the neighborhood, and we'll keep a live picture there throughout the day. But that was part of the reason that so much of our community here in New York City thought, surely there'll be some charges after what they saw in that video.
You know, Police Commissioner Bratton, whom I know and of whom I am a fan with respect to his attitude about community policing, was responsible for the attitude that if you get rid of the small, bothersome, but not really serious, harmful, but technically illegal activity, the worst stuff will leave your neighborhood as well. So the idea that we should stop things even as harmless as selling untaxed cigarettes is part of the plan to do that. And there's a lot of statistical basis to back that up. You get rid of the small stuff, the big stuff goes away. But this is an example of it not working. This is an example of a cop using a procedure, which, as you just indicated, the police department has instructed its police for 20 years, long before he was a cop, not to use a procedure that was grossly excessive in light of the threat to the police at the scene, which was near zero.
By way of background, and that you mentioned it just a short time ago about cleaning up the little stuff and the big stuff take care of itself. There was a time in New York City not very long ago in the 1980s when nobody knew anybody who hadn't been mugged or attempted to be mugged or hadn't faced some sort of street crime. And the biggest problems that you noticed as someone coming to our city were when you tried to go through one of the bridges or tunnels, some guy would come up to your windshield and try to wash your windshield whether you wanted it or not and expect a payment. And then even in the nicest neighborhoods, people would relieve themselves on the streets of this city. And those were two of the first things that Mayor Rudy Giuliani and the police department at the time said, we're going to stop. They stopped the windshield wipers and they stopped the peeing on the streets. May not seem like a big thing to you. The questions were about how they were stopping it. And then we went on to more crimes. And then they took Times Square from a drug den that was, you would never let your kids go there after dark. You would never let your wife or your girlfriend go there after dark. I mean, never, not for a minute. Right. And now it's Disney World. You can be glad it's Disney World or wish it weren't Disney World. That's neither here nor there. It is Disney World now.
But it is.
But the problem is, how do you get there? And 1 million times out of 1,000,001, I figure they get there in the proper way. The question was whether this was the proper way. Was this excessive? And a grand jury has apparently ruled there was no crime here.
Well, as you indicated, this grand jury will not have the final word. The Attorney General has been looking at, listen, the person nominated to replace the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, is the chief federal prosecutor in this part of New York City. She or someone in her office will now have to decide if the federal government wants to seek an indictment of this police officer for a violation of civil rights that resulted in death, the excessive use of force that results in death.
Live pictures now outside the court as a crowd is building, though still small. One thing before we get to Arthur Aidala, our contributor and legal analyst, regarding chokehold statistics in New York City, we got a statistic on every single thing there is in this city. From July of 2013 through July of 2014, the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board, received 219 chokehold complaints against the NYPD. In relative terms, from July of 13 to July of 14, the CCRB received the highest number of chokehold complaints as a percentage of both force complaints and total complaints since 2001. In other words, this is...
I want to stop. So that was this past year, 2013, yet the chokehold has been banned from the NYPD for 20 years as of 2013. So what the hell is that?
Yeah,
they're breaking their own laws. They're above the law.
And you know what? If you had 200 complaints, then that sounds to me like your police force needs to go through some mandatory training now, doesn't it?
Say so.
They'll all be fired.
Or all made to get their own liability insurance.
There you go, right there.
Yep. All right,
and
let's
they
hear a
would
little
police themselves.
Absolutely. Then I would bet that they wouldn't accidentally, by mistake, put people in a chokehold.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to hear the rest of this.
Been reported on more often than at any other time in the new millennium. Arthur, you're...
Couple of things. I do agree with the judge that I thought there would be an indictment on the lowest, the criminally negligent homicide, which is an E felony. It's the lowest level felony.
So that's what I thought, too. Or, you know, the other one was involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you know what, they did call it. It was ruled a homicide by the coroner. So maybe, I don't know what the actual laws are for calling a murder a different type of murder. But, I mean, it would have been something like you didn't mean to kill him, but you kind of did. And because you were the one responsible, but you didn't have pre-calculated thoughts about it, right? That's a whole different type of murder.
That's premeditated murder.
Premeditated.
That's murder one.
Exactly, exactly. This was by accident. You didn't mean it, and you were in the line of duty, but you did something that was not approved by the department. It was not procedure. So you made that call yourself. You went against policy.
That's right.
So he should be held responsible, regardless. He went against policy, and a man died.
Right.
He will be held responsible civilly, I can guarantee that.
And there goes another big settlement, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
At the taxpayer's expense.
Well, and we're going to be paying for criminal attorney general Eric Holder, a Justice Department investigation as well.
Well, and not only that, but the person who's supposed to replace him, you heard the judge said that it's going through her office to decide.
Well, right. I want to talk about that because I mentioned that in chat yesterday. You had told me that, and I wanted to find more information on her. The woman who ruled in this case in the grand jury,
actually, no, that's not right. And I just reheard this, what he said, and he said that she is, I guess, the valve for the federal office. It goes through her office, and they decide whether to put it into federal court or not.
So I don't know what that means. Who does she work for?
I think she's the first level of the feds in New York City. She wasn't part of the... I made the mistake yesterday and told you she was part of the DA's office. That was mistaken.
All right, so let's forget about her and we'll look her up later because I need to know who she is.
Okay.
So, I mean, at some point he's on his way out, and now we got a large number of our corrupt police forces that are all going to be under the thumbs of the Department of Justice. That's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, okay, let's play a little bit more.
But as the judge said, and I say as well, we weren't in there, Shepard. And here's the thing. The New York Post reports that the autopsy revealed there was no damage to his windpipe or his neck bones.
Yeah.
And although we say, oh, this was ruled a homicide, Shepard, a homicide is anything that causes death in an unnatural way. So a child who dies of SIDS in a crib who hasn't even been touched, that's ruled as a homicide. Whereas if you're being treated for cancer and you die, that is not ruled a homicide. So the fact that it's a homicide doesn't make it a crime. It just means you died in an unnatural way. The reason why I thought they would indict Shepard was because of what happens immediately thereafter, or lack thereof, when he's there clearly in need of medical assistance and none of it is being delivered. Technically speaking, that's not criminal, but I would see human beings bleeding into the criminal arena. That is clear civil negligence. I mean, a civil case here, Shepard, will be won by, you don't even need to be a lawyer to go in and say that it's so obvious the negligence that took place by many different people. But I think the cop must have done a great job saying that wasn't a chokehold. This is the seatbelt maneuver where we're allowed to use. And I asked him to put his hands behind his back. He refused. I had no choice. He was breaking a law. I needed to arrest him. He refused to allow me to arrest him. You saw what took place.
And in the end, I killed him.
Yeah, but I didn't intend to kill him.
I didn't say that.
I didn't know he had bronchitis.
I don't think anyone.
I didn't know he had problems breathing.
I don't think anybody believes that this officer intended to kill this man. The question is, how much is too much? Today, the grand jury said what it said. Now, look at the cover of, for instance, the Huffington Post, which I've got on my bat over here. Strangler cop walks. We know that a police officer has to believe that if he follows procedures, that the law and the department and the courts will back him. If he's worried or she's worried every time he or she has to go out and make an arrest, the people of the city of New York are poorly served, or whatever city you're from, it's the same way. The question is, where's the line? And apparently, this video was before the line, right?
Well, the grand jurors.
That's what I'm saying.
The grand jurors found it to be that he didn't cross. Right, correct.
I wonder how that's going to go ahead, Joe.
Well, we don't know if the DA in Staten Island, whom I think Arthur knows,
Yeah.
and I do not, will release the level of evidence that the grand jury saw that we saw released in Ferguson. If he does do that, it
would stun me if in this city that happened.
It would be very unusual. It's not required. It would be gratuitous, but it might help the public to understand and explain this apparently bizarre ruling.
John, the makeup of the grand jury again.
14 white.
14 white, at least 8 non-white, and at least 5 of those said to be African American. Does this sort of thing matter? I think it will matter to people of certain communities. I think it'll matter on Staten Island. I don't think much of this is going to matter to certain crowds, except that this guy choked our guy until he was dead, and that's wrong.
You know, we don't know what kind of a presentation the government made. In Ferguson, Missouri, the government presented exculpatory evidence. We don't know.
We don't know how hard the DA tried.
Correct, but we do know if the DA wanted an indictment, he would have gotten one.
Well, he could, because the old saying that you can indict a ham sandwich remains. You can give however as much or as little information as you want to that grand jury. You can put no exculpatory evidence on, and that's perfectly within the rule of law, correct?
But except for the defendant has a right to testify. And the only reason why I disagree a tiny bit is there's the video, Shepard. They could see it. They don't have to rely on anyone else's eyeballs. They could use their own eyes.
All right. Continuing coverage of this and the rest of the day's news coming up on Breaking News coverage on Fox News Channel.
But what about all the cop killings across? This isn't just an isolated case.
Well, and this isn't exactly, and they're acting like this is a brand new thing. You know, yesterday I was saying how many of these cases have we covered in the last 4 years? I can't even count.
Oh, I know.
In the last week alone.
Well, the last week,
this is
but
epidemic.
Right. It is.
This is
it absolutely
epidemic.
is. But think about the last 4 years of all the people. And I mean, there were crimes. There might have been petty crimes. There were poor people sleeping in their beds, right?
Yes.
We talked about, the climbing through the window, bang,
Right.
or killing the dog, or killing grandma, or kicking in the wrong door and flash banging your baby. You know what I mean?
Every day there's a murder done by police. Every single day. And usually more than
it's
one.
Off the hook. It's off the hook.
And a lot of them are innocent. They aren't even being put under arrest, though, that are being killed.
Right.
It's epidemic, and they're acting like this is an isolated case. It's pathetic.
Mm-mm. And, they're absolutely right. They said they had the video evidence. I got to tell you, here's a couple things. First thing is, some people were saying, did you see that King Representative King saying that, well, the guy was 300 pounds, so that's why he had a heart attack.
Oh,
Well,
They're
that's
gonna
a
put it on
slippery.
the victim.
What?
They're going to put it on the victim. They always do.
Well, and that's a slippery slope because if it's okay that because you were 300 pounds, it was okay that you died.
yeah, right.
What's going to be next? Well, he was 300 pounds, and so he dropped out of something else, or those people were bothering him, so he didn't matter. I mean, why would you? And again, like I was saying yesterday, this is all about division. Divide, 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 divide. Get us to fight. So not only, black against white, but let's do, people with weight issues versus people who don't.
Right.
And, let's people who live on the west side versus the east side. Let's start dividing as much as we can and get the natives fighting.
Why is it more important that a police officer makes it home that night than a citizen making it home that night?
It shouldn't be. Mm-mm.
Well, meanwhile, the bankers are looting everyone's bank account, so it doesn't matter.
Well, and man, they're chiseling them off of walls now.
Yeah, they really are.
Here's the other thing. So I have a friend who's been arrested multiple times, or a few more. And, I was getting like the rundown, step by step with this video going, well, first thing you don't ever do. And apparently this guy's had run-ins before. So that was another comment I kept seeing is, well, he's been arrested 8 or 10 times for the same infraction of selling.
31 times.
Well, then why didn't he die at the first or second one when he was arrested?
I didn't read 31. I heard someone say 31. Did you see something in writing that showed he was arrested 31
Not
times?
in writing, but
or that was just somebody's hearsay.
Well, no, they were talking about that on the damn news.
Okay, so I still don't believe the news, but
Yeah,
let's say he was arrested a number of times. Stay
Okay.
generic. Unless you have it in front of you, documented, because I don't know, but I know it's been a few times. I've never been arrested. Knock on wood. And I didn't just jinx myself, I hope. But you know what? I have family members who have been. And that doesn't make you a bad person. Like pointing out that he'd been arrested a few times, so this dude, like, he deserved it.
Right.
Or
he doesn't deserve to die. I don't care what.
Or like he was a pain in the ass, so he should have been jumped by 4 or 5 cops for being accused of selling untaxed cigarettes. And by the way, they didn't find cigarettes on him as far as I saw in any of the footage. And I've seen a couple different angles from a few different people now. And something else we're going to talk about, and I took a whole different angle on the story for the one that I did yesterday, was all from the perspective of his friend, which they don't tell you in any of this, but it literally, the dude who filmed it was his friend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, notice how that didn't come out anywhere? I found an interview that the dude, his friend that filmed it, did with Time magazine. And he talks about him being his friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
No wonder they went
watched
after
them
him.
kill his friend. Yes. Didn't that happen with the Sarnoff brothers too? Remember that?
That's right.
Well, now, what did they charge the guy who...
Well, we'll get into that. Oh, okay. Because that's a whole nother story. But just because this guy was arrested multiple times and like Shep even said it, exactly what I said. New York State cigarettes are super expensive. And in New York City, they're even more because it's not because the price of the cigarettes are really that expensive. New York, like, lumped on massive amounts, telling us what was good for us and what wasn't. And so the huge tax was going to discourage us from smoking, an unhealthy habit for the peons. Okay? So you do have a lot of black market cigarettes that happen. We have reservations, Indian reservations, that are considered quote-unquote sovereign nations that don't pay tax to the state. So they get untaxed cigarettes. So there's this black market that happens in New York. It's a big deal. They crack down very hard on that. And so, but just because this dude had been in the line of fire a couple times for, mind you, victimless crimes, where he didn't hurt anybody, he just was a pain in the ass to the police department, does not mean that he should die. Because he was 300 and some odd pounds does not mean that he deserved to die. And that cop, my friend who was talking about this with yesterday was saying, wow, I've been arrested a lot of times, and one thing I learned was when they're coming at you, you don't fight back, because if you fight back, then you're going to take whatever they dish out. And that might be killing you. And I was like, he's like, don't flail around. The dude flailed around. I'm like, but what the dude was telling him is he wasn't doing anything, and the cops weren't listening to him. And he's like, oh, if he would have shut up and just put his hands behind his back, he would have been in and out in 2 hours and paid $100 fine. You know what? The guy has 6 kids, and it's 3 weeks before Christmas, and he's selling untaxed single cigarettes on a roadside to make ends meet. So do you think this dude had another $100 to get bailed out of jail for being arrested for something he wasn't doing? Or apparently, to me, I didn't see. And, the thing is, I'll tell you what, I would have big-ass problems if some cop decided that I was doing something that I wasn't doing and then came at me and tried to put my hands behind my back. Because I'll tell you what, I'd be flailing my arms too as I'm screaming expletives. Does that mean I'm going to get shot in the forehead because they were fearing for their life? Is that what that means? Because that's bullshit. I was so angry that I got really hot. I was like, I'd be dead then if that's the logic that we're going to use on this.
Right, me too. I'd be dead too.
I'm the first person. If I do something wrong, I'll fess up. I'll man up to it. I'll admit it. I don't like to wrong people. But if I'm accused of something that I didn't do, you better believe that my fangs and my nails came out, and I'm going to start ripping shreds. I don't like that shit. I don't like liars, and I don't like being accused of something I didn't do.
Yes.
Those are 2 red button issues that if you really want to piss me off, pick one.
Right. I totally...
because I'll come at you, and I'm a banshee. I mean, you guys have heard me go on extended rants. Well, notch that octave up a couple, and then add some pointiness to it.
Dripping blood fangs.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so I'm going to go back into Skype here. So I did a story yesterday, and I actually have been watching it from the night before. Got up in the morning to do the show, and no one had done a story from the angle that I had been looking at. And then I did the show, and there still wasn't a story in alternative media out there from the angle I've been looking at it. So I spent my 3 hours yesterday afternoon getting the story done before dinner time so I could run upstairs. And mind you, it got shared out around 9 o'clock last night, and it has since had 12.6 thousand shares.
Holy crap! That's great!
11,000 likes. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I'll tell you what, it's because you didn't see this angle too much. Now you're seeing this angle out there, but in the beginning you didn't. And it was the story coming from the guy who filmed the incident, and he happened to be the only one in this case who got indicted. I was always going to say, what do you get indicted for? So here we go. There's a video. This is the interview with Time. I want you guys to check this out because this was out of all the reading and all the clips. And I remember the story from over the summer. Pigmine had videos about it. Nobody picked up on it back then. And I was like, well, I remember talking about it. Like, does the dude deserve to die over a couple cigarettes? It's just unfathomable to me. But here's the interview with Time, and he starts talking about some things that happened and what he saw, and then we can go from there. So hold on.
This guy right here is forcibly trying to lock somebody up for breaking up a fight.
Everybody standing there, they told I didn't do nothing.
A fight actually broke out, and Eric jumped up and separated the fight, told him to go across the street. The officers arrived on the scene, basically let the 2 guys that were fighting walk off, and kept all their attention on Eric.
My business, please just leave me alone. I told you the last time, please leave me alone. Take you out for what?
So stop for 1 second. Has anyone here, and maybe it was only me that didn't catch this the other 20 times I've seen the story, does anyone else here not hear that this actually was not about him selling cigarettes? The cops
Right.
showed up because there was a fight going on.
I didn't know that.
Well, I knew that because that's what the voice on the tape said, and I'm like, well, we're not hearing anything about this fight that he broke up, and he's this guy is the only one that freaking says anything about that.
About the fight. I know.
Yeah.
When I saw this video yesterday, this is what prompted me to do the story. I was like, oh, there's just so way much more. And I wonder if the grand jury heard any of this. Because the guy's name is Orta, Ramsey Orta, I think, is his friend's name, the one who filmed it. Mm-hmm. And Orta said when he went to the grand jury, they weren't even asking questions about Garner and where cigarettes were that he was supposedly selling. But it wasn't a grand jury hearing in regards to Garner. It was a grand jury hearing in regards to trumped up weapons charges, which you're going to hear. Had nothing to do with Garner.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah, and he said they weren't even listening. They were all talking and playing on their
On
cell
their
phones.
phone and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
fuck's sake.
This whole thing is so stinky. So, all right, here, let's play a little bit more.
I didn't sell anything. I did nothing. We sit here the whole time, running our business. What you told you? Who got you do what? Who got sell cigarettes to? To whom?
How can you say you see me sell a cigarette and all I did was just break up a fight?
Which way doesn't matter because you said I did it. I did it. No, I didn't. No bad. I got no bad.
From there, 2 seconds later, the sirens were heard. Well, when he grabbed him by his neck, he pulled back to try to bring him to the ground.
Girl came over, gave us a bag of baby shit.
Within all that time.
All right, I want to stop again because I'll drop this link in the chat when we're done. But what you're going to see is some of my friends like, well, if he was resisting arrest, that's what happens. The guy was talking, and I mean, I don't know about you, but I talk with my hands. So I'd be flailing, especially if I was pissed off, and being accused of something I didn't do. And there was one little dweeby cop. He looks like he's probably about 15. And he's like, well, I saw you sell a cigarette to that guy down over there. And he's like, what do you mean you saw me? He said, I don't have anything on me. I don't have a bag. I don't have anything. Now, again, I'm not saying he wasn't selling cigarettes, but according to him and his friends, they weren't doing anything, and this was all about a fight. And there's actually a couple recountings of this. And you know what? After he's limp on the ground, they're going pockets. They didn't find anything.
Right.
Oh my God! See, now when he initially gets rushed and attacked, he puts both of his hands up in the air.
He kind of puts them at a half angle.
Yeah.
And they came at him, came behind, and right now there's 4 of them on top of him before the cars show up.
Yeah.
4. And I mean, but why are they on top of him? Because in the past they'd caught him selling cigarettes on the street corner? Because in the past they decided and we heard the judge saying that Bill Bratton, the police chief of New York City, this was his whole new thing to clean up petty crime on the street. Well, because petty crime leads to greater crime. So if you clean up the petty
kill
crime,
them all.
So let's kill him.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was the only one who saw him sell a cigarette was the little dweeby dude. Well, they didn't have any evidence. Huh?
Right. How could he have seen him selling them up the street if he didn't have any on him?
Well, exactly. And the cops arrived to break up a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I'm seeing bullshit all over the story. All right, hold on.
The guy was still around his neck.
Put your hand behind your back. I can't breathe. 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 I can't breathe.
The cop's body weight is on his head.
Pushed his face into the floor twice and then put his knee on top of his face while Eric was telling him he couldn't breathe. And I seen his eyes roll back and he was foaming from the mouth and I knew he was gone from there.
All All right. So did you just hear what he said?
Oh, yes.
I saw his eyes roll back in his head. He started foaming from the mouth, and I knew he was gone from there.
Yeah, and that was within seconds. Seconds. It doesn't take much. Let me tell you.
Well, there's questions now. There was some new footage yesterday where there was from another angle, another person videotaping when the EMT showed up, and there's T said when she took his pulse. Because they're not sure if the EMT said that she still felt his blood pressure or not. But from the video, she leans down and she starts talking to Garner after she feels for his pulse. So it seems like he may have still had a pulse, but how, you know what I mean? The poor dude's like half dead laying there.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're supposed
seriously.
to start CPR immediately, no matter a pulse or not.
Right.
Well, somebody asked them. We can watch that clip after this. Somebody asked him why he didn't start CPR, and they're like, "Well, he's not dead, or he's still alive." So who knows? Who knows? But all I'm gonna say is his friend knew right then and there that they had done some damage. And there is actually that it's the same clip. They show it's almost like 6 or 7 minutes before from the time they call, and they left him just laying there. From the time he is physically limp until the ambulance arrives and anyone even picks him up to put him on a stretcher.
Right. And they're still not doing CPR when typically you would be. If you were a first responder like that in an ambulance, yes, you do CPR.
Until you get to the hospital, in fact, where they pronounce you dead.
Exactly.
Right.
You're
like,
doing CPR.
He died of a heart attack in the ambulance, is what they're saying. And I don't know. This whole thing is just absolutely wrong. And so it wasn't even like he had a bag of 1,000 cigarettes. According to that little dweeby cop, I saw you sell cigarettes.
Come on.
Cigarettes. All right. Here, I'm going to play a little more.
I kept telling them, trying to push the issue, like put an oxygen mask on him. And all they did was leave the cuffs on him and search him. And I felt that they treated him wrong even after the fact that they had him contained.
You watch everything. You know everything.
Jumped out at him for breaking up a fight. He was like the neighborhood dad. Everybody loved him. The old people, young people. They're not supposed to put people in chokeholds.
Oh, hold on. So there's a little note here, and this is something I didn't bring this up in the story because it's kind of took it off of this case, but it says a week earlier, Orta, this Ramsey Orta that's talking, recorded an officer beating a man with a baton during another violent arrest at the same location in Staten Island.
Way to go with your cell phone, dude.
Absolutely. So he caught 2 in a week. Wow. All right. In the same location, no less. Here we go. This goes on for a couple minutes. I mean, there's 2 cops. They got a guy on the ground with his hands behind his back. Looks like they're getting cuffs on him. All the guy keeps screaming is, "I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting." And there's a crowd of people standing all around the streets screaming at this cop. It's unbelievable. And they're just beating him and beating him and beating him with the baton.
Wow.
It's very disturbing. Let me see if there's any. I don't know if there's any more conversation.
I've been harassed by cops since it's happened. Anything like just don't interact physically. Just pull out a camera, and that's all people need. Not only New York is getting abused by police, it's everywhere. I just hope it gives people the courage to not be scared of these people. Because it's a lot of he say, she say. Once you have proof, nothing could go against that.
Bravo.
That kid's got a big ass target on his back now.
Well,
That's
so
so
let's talk
sad.
about what happened. So this is where my story comes in. It says someone was indicted in the Eric Garner killing, the guy that videotaped it. Ramsey Orta, the man who filmed the fatal incident on July 17, 2014, between NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo and Eric Garner, his friend and the now deceased man accused of selling untaxed cigarettes on a New York City street, went in front of the grand jury September 1st, 2014. He was indicted on what he says were trumped-up charges as retaliation for filming the incident for which Officer Pantaleo was not indicted. And I referenced a bunch of sources. I had 4 or 5 different stories on this that all gave different little snippets. According to a story in the Huffington Post, Orta said, quote, police alleged that Orta had slipped a .25 caliber handgun into a teenage accomplice's waistband outside of a New York hotel. Now, I talked about this yesterday as to what type of charges they had weighed on this guy, and I was saying, even if they were firearm charges, in New York State, we looked it up yesterday, under the SAFE Act, an empty 30-round magazine is considered a felony. An empty firearm.
That's messed up.
It is messed up. And that was all part of the SAFE Act things that were legal. And again, New York City's a little bit different than the rest of New York in regards to gun laws. But in the majority of New York, an empty magazine is considered a felony.
What are you gonna do? Beat somebody with it?
I guess. Yeah,
You
around
might
the head
load
and
it, you
ears.
might load it.
Yeah, you might load it and make sure you don't put more than 7 in the 10 rounds.
Right.
Police allege that Orta had slipped a .25 caliber handgun into a teenage accomplice's waistband outside of a New York hotel. Orta testified during the grand jury inquiry that the charges were falsely mounted by police in retaliation for his role in documenting Garner's death, but the grand jury rejected his contention, charging him with single felony counts of third-degree criminal possession and criminal firearm possession.
Wait, do
Ross-
they have the gun?
What?
Yeah, I never saw that they had the gun. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I never saw anywhere that they had the gun as evidence. And here, let's read a little bit more, because they searched them and they didn't find anything. Raw Story reported Orta stating in an interview with The Advance, which is one of the local publications there in Staten Island, that he was also threatened at that time. Quote, when they searched me, they didn't find nothing. At the same in the same cop that searched me, he told me clearly himself that karma's a bitch. What goes around comes around, Orta said, adding later, I had nothing to do with this. I would be stupid to walk around with a gun after me being in the spotlight, unquote. Absolutely. And then I'm seeing in the comments of the story, they're like, well, does anyone realize that this Orta's been arrested too? There was some, I don't know if it was robbery, they said. But you know what I mean? Like, who knows? Because I read another story from Orta's wife listing all these things, and she's like, they're out to get him. They don't want him to testify at the grand jury. They're trying to find anything to discredit him.
Well,
They're pulling up stuff in his past.
Why didn't they arrest the kid that they say he passed it to as an accomplice?
Right. Why isn't that kid then as an accessory?
Yeah.
Right.
Good question.
Phony.
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Because he would be the kid who had the gun if he
Right.
passed it off. They're full of mafia bullshit. Oh my God.
Orta had talked about the incident that day between Garner and the police in an interview with Timing.com, which is what we just listened, and stated that night. And when the guys were walking across the street, NYPD showed up and kept their attention on Garner, who they accused of selling untaxed cigarettes. Orta recounted the situation, then escalated from there, where Pantaleo took Garner down with a fateful chokehold. Orta said that he watched Garner's eyes roll back in his head and his mouth foam after he kept saying he couldn't breathe, and he, quote, knew he was gone. In an interview with Orta by the New York Daily News, Orta talked about his grand jury proceeding. Quote, I feel like it wasn't fair at all, he said. It wasn't fair from the start. When I went to the grand jury to speak on my behalf, nobody in the grand jury was even paying attention to what I had to say. People were on their phones. People were talking. I feel like they didn't even give Garner a fair grand jury. The whole thing was just about Eric, why he was selling cigarettes. Did you know he was selling cigarettes? It's bullshit. The Department of Justice states that they are now opening a civil rights investigation into the Garner's case. Obama has proposed $263 million for police body cameras, and New York City Mayor de Blasio calls for the NYPD to use them as a solution to excessive force. But those accountability band-aids don't address the root problem of escalating police brutality across the nation or make it all better.
And you know that they're telling the cops that them against, us against them against us.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It goes on all the time in police forces. Remember that lady that got shot with the rubber bullets that was a lawyer, and right afterwards the cops were all laughing and giving each other high fives and laughing about how they shot her?
No, I don't remember that one.
One
of thousands, probably, right?
Yeah, but this one made it big, and I put the video out there a few times, but right after the shooting, their captain goes, I don't know who got that woman in the red jacket, but hey, yeah, that was all right, and the whole, every one of them was laughing about it.
Like she was a target?
Yeah, they shot her twice with a rubber bullet at a protest, and then they were all laughing about it, and it was caught on video.
What's the name of this kid again, Jules?
Ramsey Orta.
This kid is key, and he's going to be key in, like, a lot of stuff. This kid needs to get out of New York City and get into some kind of, like, police protection, safe place. You know what I mean?
Well, police protection away from the police.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I mean by that. I mean, somebody needs to protect him because, I mean, they're all going to be gunning for him now. This kid is the key to this whole case.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Yeah, and especially if there's a Justice Department investigation now that's going to totally stick it to the NYPD.
Right. So
there's going to be like, oops, an accidental fire or something.
Accidental something. Because this is the mafia he's messing with. You know what I mean? And he's just like, holy crap. Like he just, with his second video, now all of a sudden he's in this mafia spiderweb thing. And oh my God, someone needs to like protect this kid and so that he can do his thing. I mean, he's now...
in custody?
No.
No, what was odd is I was really trying to dig up where he is now and so he was indicted by a grand jury, so now he's going to be facing charges, right?
Weapons charges. At that.
Right. Well, and felony weapon charges. So what are the charges for that? 5 years? 10 years? I mean, I know looking at the SAFE Act, they were like 5 or 10 year charges depending on what the infraction was. So I don't know. And there was something that said that now it's been postponed. But there were no details. I was trying to find like some of the grand jury documentation on what happened, and I couldn't find any details.
Oh my God, this is so corruption at the New York level. Let me tell you right now, and this poor kid, has been Johnny on the spot. That was it, man. His life is in danger. Mm-hmm. I mean, damn, this blows my mind. I mean, this is definitely going to be the seedy underbelly story, Jules. What a fantastic article that was.
Oh, well, thanks.
Thank you.
The thing is that they're fighting so hard across the board, trying to make us believe that filming the cops is illegal, and it's not.
No. Well, the Supreme Court said so.
Well, exactly. And you know what, though? If they make bad things start happening to people that are filming stuff, then that's going to be like the Johnny Knuckles, to keep you shut up.
Man, I hope this kid doesn't spend the next 15, 20 years in prison.
Well, that's what I really wanted to find for the end of that story, and I couldn't find any details as to what he is facing now because of this.
My God.
Yeah, we're having look for the article.
Yeah,
It
I
says
saw
he-
that. If you
Yeah,
can
I
find
wonder.
it, I'll read it. But I didn't. I spent 3 hours digging deeply into the story, and I saw nothing of the sort. So if you
So-
find it, I'll look at it.
So is he out on bond? I mean, or and you
He
can't find
must
that-
be. He must be. I mean, he's out giving interviews. That interview was from a few months ago.
Well, I hope there's some like lawyers jumping on him right now that
I
will
hope
pro
so.
bono. I mean, there's got to be somebody like that in New York that will help this poor kid out because he's getting freaking just railroaded. I mean, I feel just my heart kind of aches for him now, right? He's the next one in
Yeah.
line to die, and nobody's going to be filming that.
You know,
Like
and
the
what
Sarnev
also is
bro-
weird? Yeah, the Sarnev brothers, exactly.
Yeah, same
And
shit.
here's something that's also weird about this, you know, because Orta is insisting that this was retaliation for filming, but I had said his wife was saying that he was targeted in one of the stories, and his wife was also arrested
I thought I'd seen that.
What?
for assault a week after he recorded that. They said she had a fight with some other woman.
Crazy.
Wow, that whole family should leave.
That's crazy, man.
Like, if we can't get to you, we'll get to your family.
yeah, yeah.
Mafia style.
That's mafia style. It's the way the mafia works. That's what it's. Man.
They're actually trying to release the grand jury documents. I don't know if they have or not yet, but
Yeah, they don't have to, but
They're not supposed to really. Typically,
No,
are they?
No, they can. It's
Oh, they
up to
can.
them.
I see.
Like they released
Sure.
the Ferguson ones.
Right.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, about releasing this one, I don't know.
Well, it works differently in New York.
Well, you know, and that's it. And I was going to say his being appalled by how the grand jury was acting. If anybody's been to New York, that's the way New Yorkers are.
Right,
Like,
right.
They don't take any. You know, they're just kind of like, nah, whatever. You know, they're like jaded. Nobody gives a shit. So that's disturbing.
Well, I don't know.
I
There was 10,000 people out protesting.
Well, the protests, yeah, but if you're forced to sit in a jury room in New York, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to be doing that? You're getting paid. So, great, you're getting paid your $2.83 an hour for sitting there. I don't know if it's different for the grand jury, but you don't really want to be sitting there. And if you are sitting there, you know what? It's more fun to be texting your friends, obviously.
Yeah. Jeez, man, that's just.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in front of any type of jury in New York City.
Yikes.
There's not tons of compassion there. Unless it's trendy.
Well, see, now with all these protests and all this stuff going on, I betcha had the grand jury been taking place like now, they would they would be paying more attention because it's
Well,
now
right.
high profile.
Now people are on top of it.
Right.
And now you got the whole trendy East Village crowd who's deciding they're getting out in the streets.
And they're all chanting, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. That creeps me out. That's creeping me right out. They're doing that in Detroit. They're doing that in Chicago. Do you think they closed Lakeshore Drive down last night?
Did they?
The Kelly Thomas case, I mean, everyone knows those cops blatantly murdered that guy. And what gets
That
me
video was so horrible.
And what gets me is the Fullerton people all got, made them go out, because those cops were still on the force and out doing their job. They made them fire them and press charges, and all the people came out. But then when they found those guys innocent, nobody was around. That totally blew my mind.
Well, I just know that, here's the thing. They're trying to make all of these into race issues, and there was a story that came out last night that I want to play in South Carolina. Did you see that there was a police chief indicted?
Oh, no.
Oh,
for murdering.
No.
It was a police chief in South Carolina who was indicted. He was a white police chief indicted for murdering a black man. Wait, let me scroll down and see if I can find this. It just made me wonder if he didn't end up being the sacrificial cow.
Sacrificial lamb.
Or whatever.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
sacrificial
true.
goat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that all of a sudden there's all this screaming and whatever, and they're like, oh, well, we got to make sure we have,
Someone on the
a white
platform.
guy get indicted then, since we had, 2 for 2.
Right.
Here, let's see if I can do this.
Jeez.
This is a short little blurb. Do 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 do.
Okay, and then after that,
Here
a New
comes.
York City cop of the year arrested for buying 10 kilos of cocaine.
Okay, total subject change. Let me play the video.
Where a grand jury in South Carolina did indict a white former police chief for murder in the death of an unarmed black man. It happened in the town of Utahville in 2011 when the two men argued over a traffic ticket. The ex-chief, Richard Combs, said he shot and killed Bernard Bailey in self-defense. Combs had already been charged with misconduct in office.
So it doesn't give a lot of detail.
No kidding.
Over a traffic ticket, though, the dude got killed.
Yeah, that's messed
I mean,
up.
that's just as senseless as over a freaking untaxed cigarette.
Right.
Jeez. That's crazy.
It's going off the hook. It's happening so much.
But in the meantime, all of Barry's tech buddies are now going to make money off the hook.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Stock prices on body cameras go through the roof with the $263 million he's going to earmark for purchasing them.
Exactly. What does he do? He pads the coffers of the cops. That's what he's been doing.
Well,
Jeez.
beyond that, I mean, just the surveillance state and
harming them.
all these guys.
Oh my God!
Think about it. Who, Mr. NSA, Keith Alexander, and Chertoff's in the game, and I mean, security. That's where the money is. That's where the jobs are. Told you guys, I go back into my old profession. I'm going to be helping to build surveillance networks. I don't want to do that. That's where the money is. Oh, cameras in schools. You know what I mean? I mean, once all these school shootings, now we got to put the fire detectors. Remember I did that story too.
That's right.
The DARPA technology they're going to start putting in schools from Iraq and Afghanistan. Oh, how nice.
Right. Oh my God.
Says body cam stocks are soaring after Obama urges greater use by police. But here's the thing. This was a perfect example of a case that was filmed, and it didn't make any difference now, did it?
That's right.
And how many other cases did we see where there was already the dash cam? Remember that college kid that was out partying for the end of the semester?
Yeah, and the glue came off the sticky side.
Yeah, the glue came off the camera, and we missed the whole incident.
Unbelievable.
Says yesterday, Obama said he is asking Congress for money. Now, mind you, this is when we're at a deadline for budget.
There you go.
At the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Let's play chicken again. And it's lame duck session right now, just before the Democrats are out and the Republicans come in. Obama says he's asking Congress for money to help fund body cameras for local police agencies. Today, some of the leading manufacturers of these cameras saw a stock market bounce. Taser, best known for its stun guns, also manufactures body cameras and has cloud computing systems to store videos taken by officers. Oh, how convenient. Digital Ally is another company that makes cameras that can be worn on a police officer's shirt and record evidence of interactions between police and civilians. Obama has asked for $263 million in funding to help a local police agency buy body-mounted cameras, which can record events from the point of view of the police officer. Why don't they just get them Google Glass?
Yeah.
Right.
Let them turn into robots. The money would come over 3 years and would match state funding up to 50%. So not only are we going to get screwed by paying for it out of our federal tax dollars, but I guess it's going to be a 50-50 match between the federal and the state tax dollars. Oh, dear.
Oh, there we go.
That's just freaking awesome.
The feds ain't even paying for it. We are.
Well, we pay for everything the feds pay for, don't we?
That's true.
It's not like they wave a magic wand and make magical money appear. Oh, wait, they do. It's
They
called
do.
the
Yeah.
Earlier this year, Taser announced a deal with the LAPD. Although that contract is not yet complete, it's thought that the LAPD could be the very first top 5 police agency to put Taser body cameras on every officer.
And I wonder how many will malfunction.
Yes.
Right, at the right time.
Mysteriously. And you know what? They're putting them all into the cloud. So they didn't say whose cloud it was, but didn't we just find out that Amazon's cloud, which is one of the biggies out there, is Amazon had the whole big deal with the CIA and built the CIA's cloud too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, we did. I want to see. Here's the new video. Let's play this one too. This is the individual at that scene in New York, and this is where the anchor actually has a counter on, so they're counting the amount of time that he's laying on the ground before any EMT shows up. All right, hold on. And I'd say out of anything, and I mean Michael Brown was the same deal. That was when his mom and stepfather went to the UN and petitioned the UN in their convention against torture over the Michael Brown case. What they were claiming is that they left him laying in the street for 4 freaking hours.
Right.
Right.
You know, I mean, all right, so the dude got shot, but was he dead instantly? Or if they had gotten him some sort of medical attention, would he still be alive today?
Right.
You know, one of the things that the guys on Anti-Media pointed out last night, too, is in these 2 cases, how interesting it is that the one in St. Louis was over a container of cigars, those little Tipperillos, and in New York it was over untaxed cigarettes.
Supposedly.
Hey, how weird is this? This video will not load 4 times now.
Weird.
Wow. Huh.
This
Imagine
is-
that.
New video shows Garner motionless after chokehold. This is him laying on the street, and then a countdown as to how long it takes before the cops show up.
And you can tell he goes completely limp.
Yeah, I might have to scroll back. Let me see if I can try this another way. Why won't this load? It was a pretty important video, too.
They are totally messing with the web.
I'll tell you what, every time I do a story about police brutality and start searching terms, my machine goes on syrup. The story took me way longer than it should have because my whole machine would just go, so the screen would go white. I was very, very, very aggravated by the time I went up for dinner. Damn. Oh yeah, and it wasn't just the machine that always gives me issues on wireless. It was also the machine that's now plugged into wired. All of a sudden, there's no internet found.
Weird.
How is that even possible? If there was no internet found out here, that means there would be no streaming radio.
Right.
Right. And you know, I've been getting that a lot too. The server can't be found.
Yeah.
Drudge
Any time
and
of a website that's something questionable, you get a DNS error. Server can't
Yeah,
be
you
found.
can bring up any other page and it comes up fine.
Yep, and Skype works just fine. People are messaging me. Instant Messenger works fine. Facebook works fine. Just certain websites now just mysteriously can't be found for some unknown
It's been
reason.
happening with Drudge now for 3 days straight.
Yeah, Drudge yesterday. I was pulling up something and it did that to me a couple times.
Oh, shit.
Now, here's backup. Don't want to be conspiracy theorist accused. I mean, there could, if there had been some sort of attack on the global DNS servers, if there was some corruption at the internet service provider for the naming convention to the IP address translation, if there was a downed router that was in the path from where you are to where the servers are hosted that Drudge is on, those can also cause that issue. Okay,
But
you have
only with certain
routing tables. And that's possible, you know, it's all based on domain names, so if it's going to be one, it's going to be all on a site. Just saying, there are some technical issues in the cloud that can cause that, but seems pretty convenient as to the ones that are having technical issues.
Right.
Well, I can't talk and search and read at the same
Well, you know,
time.
like with
so-
the Drudge, it was down for hours the other day, and they still haven't said anything as to why. And then just last night, I couldn't get through again. It said couldn't find server. And they haven't said anything as to what's going on. You'd think they would have said, well, we had this kind of problem or something.
Well, somebody posted an article in chat yesterday. I can't remember who it was that posted it, but it was Natural News, and Natural News was saying that their site, I guess there was some kind of a beta testing.
Shows the police reacting
Hold
after
on.
Mr. Garner is taken down.
Where the hell is this?
Disturbing, but it's important to know context. And just so you know what you're seeing, there will be a clock that's running.
Well, the weird thing is that it's sitting there with static on it, so there's no video at all, and now the audio started playing.
That's bizarre.
It says video can't be found. It was all that black static, except it was playing then.
Wow, all you need is the audio anyway.
Yeah, but I killed it because I wanted to talk over it. All right, somebody was talking about something. Go ahead. About National News.
Yeah. And I guess a couple days ago there was some kind of beta test in California where Drudge was not being able to be picked up in Natural News either. So I didn't read the whole darn article. I just kind of scanned through the first couple paragraphs.
Well, the thing is, Natural News is one of those sites that tries to do the sky is falling stuff to bring them attention.
Yeah,
we've been noticing it here for a long time.
Yeah.
How many times have we not been able to get to our chat or not been able to get to the UCY page? And there's been nothing wrong on my end, nothing wrong in my ISP that I can see. Just all of a sudden, page won't load for some unknown reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is weird.
All right, here we go. But I think it's all alternative sites.
Now?
We know that they're scanning all this stuff. And we know that they're doing keywords.
Absolutely.
So, and it just so happens every time I start searching cop killing or whatever, my whole machine goes on molasses.
Yeah.
All right, I got it now.
Play a clip that was shot by another bystander that shows the police reacting after Mr. Garner is taken down. And again, I want to warn you, the video is disturbing, but it's important to know context. And just so you know what you're seeing, there will be a clock that's running in the top left corner. That's the time from when the tape started to roll so that you know how long Mr. Garner was lying on the ground.
And just so you know, he's literally laying on the ground now, unconscious. So this is after Orta's video stopped. There are cops all surrounding him now, and they're all kind of just, kind of kicking the dead guy, in the movie to make sure he's dead. I mean, they're all kind of looking at him, bending over, poking him, looking at him. He's still in cuffs, mind you. They're staring in his face.
You don't have to do it yourself, bud.
Can you back up, please? We're trying to give him some air. We're gonna get an ambulance, all right?
Yeah, back up. You got him on the floor.
Yeah, let's back up, try and give him some air. We're trying to get an ambulance after you guys just choked the shit out of him.
Yeah, no one's giving him CPR. They're all trained, believe me. They're all trained in CPR. You're one of those cops.
All right, a little bit more.
Got him on the floor. They're talking about back up. You hear this? Now they're trying to get him an ambulance. After they harassed him, slammed him down, NYPD. You understand? This is going viral right here. It's going viral right here. NYPD harassing people for no reason. He didn't do anything at all. Going viral.
Now, do you hear? This is another bystander saying he didn't do anything at all.
Yep.
Now they want to step back. They want to try to get him an ambulance. After they beat him up, rolled him to the ground.
And there is much more of the tape as well. This next clip picks up as EMTs arrive and place Mr. Garner on a gurney. And again, I want to warn you, it is disturbing video, but it's a crucial part of the story. Take a look.
Wow, that's crazy.
Sorry, EMS is here. Answer their questions, okay?
You can't breathe.
The EMT's talking to him. She's like trying to get him to respond. She's taking his pulse.
Sir, CMS, come on. We're here to help, all right? We're here to help you. We're getting the stretcher, all right?
What the hell is she doing? Look, I've had training, okay? I've been a nursing assistant for over 25 years. The first thing you do is check for a pulse, then you listen for breathing. You put your fucking ear to the mouth and nose to hear if the breathe, and if not, you administer CPR. And
and they never did that. They never felt his breath. She felt for a pulse. And then you hear her go, yeah, but you don't hear what the cop asks her. So the assumption is he asks, is he still alive? But she goes, yeah. And then she starts like shaking his arm like he's sleeping. Sir, EMS is here.
Yeah.
Sir.
Oh, hello. We're going to put you on a gurney.
But they never checked his breath. They never put their ear up near his face, anything like that.
You do. That's the first thing you do when you encounter somebody unconscious on the scene.
Now, maybe it's a little bit different in a case where they think the guy might be violent. Maybe he's playing possum.
But he's still
maybe he'd
handcuffed,
bite your ear off. Huh?
He's still handcuffed, right?
He's handcuffed, laying unconscious on the ground. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's play a little bit more. We're now at almost 5 minutes. He's been laying here down. Everybody's just standing around.
Ambulance still hasn't taken off.
What was that?
The ambulance still hasn't taken off. Have they got him even on the gurney?
No,
yet?
he's still laying on the ground. There's a ticker next to this video. So we're now at 5 minutes, 23 seconds, and he's still laying here with no medical attention at all. Now, I mean, I guess you could say at least it wasn't the 4 hours like Michael Brown.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Still mowing.
You gotta love the singing too. I mean,
yeah, I think that's the woman who's filming.
Yeah.
Now they rolled him on his back. They're looking at his completely unconscious face.
We're gonna try to get him up on the stretcher. It'll take like 6 minutes.
All right, here comes the stretcher. His eyes are open and glazed. He's completely out.
He's dead.
Why nobody do the CPR?
Yeah. Wow.
Did you hear that?
Good question.
Yeah.
Absolutely great question. All right, keep going.
He's breathing?
So that's what they said. He's breathing.
with his eyes rolled back, and it's crazy.
Unfucking believable. I can't.
And I mean, I saw his eyes rolled back. You can see him; they like give this weird glaze to them, and they're just blank. And Orta even had said he saw his eyes roll back in his head.
Yeah, not only that, even if he was breathing, Orta said, "How come they didn't put an oxygen mask on him
or something?" Something. All right, here's the last little bit now with her commentary.
So you'll notice at the end of that piece of video, you heard the person in the background say, "Why are you not doing CPR?" And you heard the response from one of the police officers, or it could have been one of the EMT members, that he was breathing. And it's also important that you know that the video you were just watching, the police and the EMTs say that Mr. Garner was alive at that time. And it appears that the female EMT who was taking the pulse, it appears she may have said that he has a pulse, but we're not clear if that's exactly what was said at the moment. But it is important to know that that is not the moment that Mr. Garner was dead. And according to the police, he died on the way to the hospital.
So there you go. And it's according to the police still, but there is... Oops, I'm going to start playing here. We still don't know that for a fact. That's what they're claiming. That he was alive when they got him in the ambulance and he had a heart attack.
It didn't look like there was any breath going up.
With his eyes rolled back in his head.
His abdomen was not moving during that whole time. I mean, you couldn't see physical breathing going on, like gasping for air or any of that. Nothing like that.
I just dropped that video into chat, by the way, if anyone wants to watch that. Like I said, it's got a ticker on it, so it shows you the amount of time. And, I mean, she's sitting there. She's got her hand, like, on the side of his stomach, like they were feeling to see whether or not his diaphragm was moving up and down. I've never quite seen them feel that way for breath.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, man. I don't know.
The whole thing is kind of shady.
I think so, too. I'm glad it was on video so everyone can see for themselves.
Well, it makes you wonder, though. Did the grand jury see these same videos that we saw? Did they see Orta's video and this woman's video? And if they did, how could they say that nothing was done wrong here? I wanted to really quick, if I can get to it in the last minute or so that we have. Let me scroll. Come on. I don't know if I'm going to get there or not. There was a story about 1993 when they banned the chokehold by the NYPD, and I'm probably not going to be able to find it before we run out of time here. Oh, maybe. There's just so much news. And, I mean, we talked about this now. There's so much other stuff, but...
I know.
I have to say that this weekend there were huge protests yesterday all over the country.
Yes.
In regards to this case in particular, because they were doing the I Can't Breathe, but that's just, the next in line. Tomorrow it'll probably be some other one. And, how come there hasn't been anybody protesting over the 12-year-old who considers a 12-year-old boy with a fake gun?
That's actually even more
Yeah, and
worse.
Here we go. Here goes the end of the music. That is worse. He was 12.
Yeah.
All right, guys, everybody have an awesome Friday night. There's some good radio on tonight, as always, on Friday. And I think my clock's off a little bit, but here it comes. If you want, you can always play with the bleep meter on Hal's show up next for every time he says crickets. Thank you, ladies, for hanging out today. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out in chat, for listening. Have an awesome weekend. Oh, tomorrow night, Kim O'Celli, 10 p.m., new show. Make sure you call in. All right, everybody, take care.